Yes, hello, friends. Welcome out of the car. We start the emergency podcast session. Good to be with you. Yes, the Montreal Canadiens have decided to fire and part ways with Dominic Ducharme in the aftermath of a blowout loss 7-1 at the hands of the New Jersey Devils in front of 500 fans or so, all occupado in the loge last night in what has to be now, obviously, the lowest point of this season that has been filled with low points. This team has yet to win back-to-back games this season. And the Montreal Canadiens have been dumped on repeatedly all year long. We told you in our earlier installment today. Thank you for joining us. Hit us up in the comments as we react to Dominic Ducharme being fired this afternoon by the Montreal Canadiens. No news yet on who the replacement will be. It seems the Montreal Canadiens are going through the process of finding out who the next head coach is going to be. It doesn't appear as though that it's going to be Luke Richardson. Lots of questions. Certainly, it's never a good thing when you know that the Montreal Canadiens are paying a few guys to not work for them, in particular, Marc Bergevin, in particular, Claude Julien, and now Dominic Ducharme, who's going to get paid $1.7 million in each of the next 2 years. So we're talking upwards of almost $7 million in basic dead money that Jeff Molson is going to have to cut checks to guys that aren't working for him. So how are they going to resolve this situation? There are a lot of balls in the air. And I don't know. I mean, I guess we can come to the conclusion that last night's 7-1 drubbing at the hands of the Devils was that to Dominic Ducharme by the players. But, Josh Anderson came out and was so passionate about his team's performance, lack of competitiveness, basically threatened his team that if they play the same way tomorrow against Washington, there's going to be butts on the line. Well, clearly, Dominic Ducharme's keister was put to the curb this afternoon. Why now, though? Isn't that the question? Like, why now? They just had 8 days off. They just came off their bye week. It's not like the Montreal Canadiens were in a funk. It's not like they were, winners of 8 in a row and then lost 3 straight and Dominic Ducharme's team forgot how to score goals. Like, none of that happened. Like, this team has been terrible all year long. As a matter of fact, like, when Dominic Ducharme took over in February last year, the team was 500. Jeff Veillette, who does a great job of analyzing NHL games and talks about fancy stats and everything else, and had a great line talking about, Dominic Ducharme's fingerprints on this team. The team regressed from the jump. And I can understand that there are a lot of different circumstances that resulted in this team being really bad. In particular, and we'll talk about this tomorrow morning on the TSN 690 morning show with myself and Connor McKenna, where can you argue the other side, really? Can you coherently argue the other side about Dominic Ducharme? When you go through his timeline as head coach from February last year where he was hired, remember, he took over a team that was 9-9 and finished, I think, 28-32, 4 games below 500. The expected goal share, it fell right off the cliff. But when we talk about the circumstances, let's talk about circumstances for a second, right? Let's talk about how it was a shortened season. Let's talk about how once the season got back on, the schedule was condensed. They couldn't practice. Remember, this team couldn't practice for quite a while. They couldn't practice because of COVID restrictions. And then they're finally able to have limited practices. And then there's the injury bug. And then COVID comes back again. So he was like thrown into the fire in the midst of the COVID wave last February. And look, I'm just trying to argue the other side is what I'm trying to do. Do you have time to listen and maybe see it for just a second? That maybe it wasn't all on the up and up for Dominic Ducharme. And while he helped guide this team to the Stanley Cup final on the heels of a great goaltending performance by Carey Price, he was still the man behind the bench. And with all of these circumstances, I'm left with the one question: why now? Why today? Why this afternoon? I mean, like, you're bad, and you have been bad all season. So just stay bad. No? Am I alone in thinking this way? Just stay bad. You're doing a great job of being bad. You've done a great job of just being a bad hockey club. And Dominic Ducharme obviously was the man for the job. What am I missing here? What did Jeff Gordon and Ken Hughes want? They want to go on a heater? They want to bring in a raw guy and kick ass and take names and hold everybody accountable? And now Jeff Petrie is going to start passing the puck to the right people at the right time all the time? Right? And I mean, what am I missing here? Why now? That's the question I have. And look, I mean, it's not like I've been the biggest booster of Dominic Ducharme. Like, Connor McKenna loves to remind me on the air that 4 games into the season, I was like, okay, I've seen enough. I've had enough of Dominic Ducharme. I don't think he's the right man for the job. And 8 days after their bye week comes to an end, and they get shellacked by the Devils, who I'll remind you had lost 7 in a row, had played the night before and got beaten by the Ottawa Senators, traveled to Montreal, short trip granted, who cares, and then put a 7 spot on the Canadiens. What was that, the 6th time this season the Canadiens have allowed 6 or more goals in a game? Obviously, the coach's ass is going to be on the line. There's no doubt. You don't get away from this. But what's the Canadiens' agenda this season? What's their main point? Their main point, I think, is losing games. And the man for the job was Dominic Ducharme. The comments are coming in. What's up, Martin? Martin Thompson? Maybe they'll appreciate close losses, not blowouts. Well, I think that's what, Josh Anderson was talking about. Like, I have a hard time sitting here looking at you guys and having a serious conversation talking about professional hockey players quitting and not having heart, right? Like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to be that person. And I think a communication barrier existed. I think there were times where Dominic Ducharme, by all accounts, Alex Burrows, the assistant, said it himself. Dominic Ducharme has an open door policy. The door to his office in the room is open. If you have a problem, if you have an issue, if you don't think you're getting enough ice time, apparently that door is wide open. You're allowed to walk right through it and have a conversation. And I don't think the message was heard loud and clear. And it's not lost on me that Carey Price is gone and Shea Weber is gone. And this team's quote unquote character no longer exists. And for me, one of the lasting takeaways is going to be how much that character conversation and how important Marc Bergevin made it to be was BS. It's BS. It's BS. It's BS. Everybody loves everybody when you're winning. And there's problems and there's rumors and there's accusations when you lose. C'est natural. It's what happens. Could Shea Weber be named? It's funny you asked that question, Orbit. Thank you. I always had a problem. With Shea Weber getting paid and staying home in BC. Fine, get your medical treatment, get yourself right, do what you need to do. But you're still being paid. Like, you're Captain Shea Weber. You're the man mountain. You're the man that oozes character, right? You can't get enough of Shea Weber. Why hasn't he been around the team? Why wouldn't you want that person? Not holding hands to someone like Nick Suzuki, but damn close anyway. The comments still coming in. Joel Sanderson, thank you, Joel. I hate to compare us to the Leafs, but Martin is right. The Leafs brought in Babcock. We're last in the league, bad all year. They were in almost every game, though. Maybe that's what they want. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't. If what Joel is commenting on, I'll put it back up on the screen. If what Joel is saying is accurate, if you guys agree, then maybe he's onto something. And it's clear, the Canadiens' issues all season long, and it does fall in the lap of the coach, is they got stuck a lot. They never seem to have an answer, never seem to have a way out of scenarios. And they have a lot of veteran players on this team. Now, granted, they dealt with a lot of injuries, clearly, but they never seem capable, as a coaching staff, from my perspective, of figuring things out and getting out of a jam. Clearly, I mean, you're the worst team in the league. You haven't put together a winning streak longer than one. Can you even call it a winning streak when you just win a game and then lose the very next night out? So I think it's a mistake to fire Dominic Ducharme today. I do. At the end of this, I think it's just, it doesn't make sense. I don't think Josh Anderson comes out and is as passionate as he was after last night's loss if he doesn't give a shit about the coach. I don't see it that way. To me, that was a guy that cared a lot and was ready to hold guys accountable, So I like that they were losing. They were onto something. I don't know. I don't know who the next coach is going to be. I don't think it's Luke Richardson. I really don't. I don't think it's going to be Luke Richardson between you and I. What's Claude Julien doing? What's Michel Therrien doing these days? And I think whoever they bring in, they're going to announce a coach today. Whoever they bring in, I think it's a Band-Aid. I think it's an interim tag, because I would be disappointed between you and I would be disappointed in the Montreal Canadiens organization if they find the next permanent head coach today. You're not talking to every possible candidate that works for the 31 other teams in the league. Are you really vetting everybody? Are you really doing your due diligence? if you're not getting permission to speak to somebody. Let's say the sharpest guy in the room is some guy in Columbus you and I have no idea even exists on this planet, but he works for the Columbus Blue Jackets, hypothetically, and the Canadiens know he exists and they want to kick tires and they want to speak to him. They're going to ask permission. So I think it's going to be a Band-Aid solution, whoever that is. And that's why I go back to the main point of this emergency press conference out of the car with Star is the bad timing of this decision, in my opinion. You were losing. You were doing what you wanted to do, and that's have as many ping pong balls in the lottery machine as mathematically possible to get you the number 1 overall pick. And I guess Shane Wright that comes with it, right? That's what you were doing here. Like losing games, not rushing anybody back from injury because you were figuring things out. Ryan Poehling trying to find a spot. Nick Suzuki trying to gain more confidence. Cole Caulfield doesn't have COVID finally. He's finally playing a hockey game. Dominic Ducharme barely played the guy yesterday. Got him 15 minutes. Didn't look to me like he played in the first 40. So this was the season to figure things out, find a new direction, take the team into a new direction with the new brain trust on the 7th floor. And they did it with Gorton and Ken Hughes. And I don't get the firing. I don't get the timing of the firing. How many more games? That was the 45th game yesterday. So 37 more of these bad boys to go. And you decide today is the day to fire Dominic Ducharme when you had an 8-day layoff to can his ass and you don't do it? I don't know. I want to be optimistic, everybody. I want to be optimistic. I want to believe that the new regime has a plan. They're sharp. They're cutting edge. They know what's up. But the takeaway, I'm not left with a positive impression. The only way I guess I can have a change of mind, I guess, if more information begins to come out and we talk about how, Dominic Ducharme clearly was just a flat out bad coach in the room and the guys had it up to there. I'd be curious if we get that level of access to information as far as this team is concerned. Thank you so much, everybody, for jumping onto the live stream today. Martin and Joel and Orbit, thank you for all the comments today. And lots of fun. Flip it over to TSN 690, Melnick in the afternoon, Gallo, and everybody else there. I guess John Still, the whole crew having fun on TSN 690, breaking down the breaking news. And maybe it's going to be Jim Montgomery. There's a name. Think about that name. Jim Montgomery. There's a name. So, yeah, it'd be interesting. Maybe Guy Boucher, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more. Guy Boucher, perhaps. But again, I don't want it to be a full-time hire. My perspective, flip it over to TSN 690, Melnick in the afternoon, and the boys there have you covered. Thank you for those that decided to tune in and comment. Really appreciate the support, you guys. Throw me a like, a comment. I don't know what to do. Just enjoy. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow morning on the air, bright and early, 6 a.m. on TSN 690.